The Guardian. We've got Mark Hamill on the return of Luke Skywalker and snogging Carrie Fisher, which would be very interesting considering she's dead. Sale of Disney marks end of era for Murdoch. Tycoon reshapes media empire with disposal of film studio and Sky stake. Don't believe that for a second. One thing you got to remember, right? Everything, nearly everything in these papers is utter tosh. So don't pay any attention to it. I'm just putting this out there so you don't have to go and waste any money on it. Now this is the thing that really, really is pissing the parasitical scum off. The picture. 6 months on, the grief is as raw as ever. They're used to us forgetting about things a month or 6 weeks after things have happened. But we aren't forgetting about Grenfell, the murder that the parasites have done. They murdered everyone in that building. And they wish that we'd forget about it. And we're just not forgetting about it. In fact, we just keep going on and on and on about it until it's going to bring them all down. The end of the parasitical scum and the slavery that we've been in for all of our lives. The Times. Judge slams police after man cleared in rape trial. Officers sit on evidence that proved innocence. They do this all the time. They are corrupt. They are a bunch of criminals. They're just the lapdogs of the elite. And they're starting to be found out for the corruption that goes on in the police. And every police force is corrupt. Usually from the Chief Constable down. And as for the Police and Crime Commission, don't make me laugh about that one. Paddy Tipping, or Simon Patrick Tipping, as his real name is. Paddy Tipping is, of course, his trust name. And another criminal, an MP that was one of the first ones to be done for fiddling expenses. Did he go to prison? No, he just paid it back. If he even paid it back, which I doubt. I was in a meeting with that piece of shit, and his PA, personal assistant, was there, and he was saying, oh, how he gets X amount of money. And his PA had to remind him that he didn't get 70,000 a year. He actually got 80,000 a year, which comes out of council tax, by the way. Every one of you is paying that piece of shit's wages of £80,000 a year for doing absolutely nothing. A made-up job. Anyway, I digress, and it's very easy to when you know the shit that's going on. Made to drop Brexit Day bid following rebel defeat. Brexit? No Brexit. You know there's no Brexit coming. There may be some sort of Brexit, but it'll be a written down Brexit, but we will still be fully tied into EU. There is no official, real, what we voted for, what you lot voted for, Brexit. And the picture there again, the Grenfell. We're not forgetting Grenfell. You murdered about 400 people, men, women and children. We ain't forgetting about that, and you lot are going to pay. The absolute utter scum. Tories in outrage at Brexit rebellion. And the main headline. Benefit mum splurges 2,000 on 66 presents for her 6 kids and you'll pay. This is why they are the absolute utter scum. They're picking on those on benefits because they're trying to make it out, right? This is what this says. Anyone on benefits, entitlements by the way, not benefits. Anyone on entitlements has such a good life. They can buy whatever they want, whenever they want, because they get paid so much. Utter shit. And whether that's true or not, which probably isn't, or if it is, the scum probably gave her £2 to go and spend, and then put this article out about it, because that's what sort of scum that paper is. And if you read it, you're a idiot. Mirror. A cup of tea helps stop blindness. What? Mel B's fury at £500,000 payout to violent ex. She's worth millions. 500,000 is a drop in the water to her. But she's bitching about it because she sold her soul. All music entertainers, as they're called, sell their soul for fame and fortune. And one life, you got one life that you're living at the moment, and you sell your soul for it, even though you're an eternal being, and you get reincarnated as often as you want. In fact, you get reincarnated until you learned your lesson, and that lesson is love. Mayday. Oh God, I'll give this a read because it's a load of tosh. Second embarrassing Brexit defeat next week. Knife crime by the young up 16% in a year. 222,000 patients wait more than 4 hours in A&E. Homeless children up 70% under Tories. Wouldn't make any difference whether it was Tories or Labour. The same agenda would carry on regardless, because it's those that pull the strings of these puppets that really control what's going on. That's why it doesn't matter whether Labour get in, Conservatives get in, Liberals get in, Lib Dem, whatever. It doesn't matter who gets in. The same agenda carries on, because those at the top control everything. The sooner you realise we're in a dictatorship, the sooner we can get out of it, before it gets so deep that we can't. And there is a serious possibility of that happening if we don't start talking about this. At least talk to your friends and family. Don't give them too much, just a little bit. Just let them test the water, and you'll probably find in a lot of cases that they're thinking along the same lines. They just don't want to talk about it because they're worried about being called a conspiracy theorist. Make the first move. Have a talk. This is how we've defeated everything in the past. We've talked amongst ourselves and realised we all have a common purpose. I don't like that one, and you know why. A common agenda, and that's we want fairness, we want to be treated fairly, we want everyone to be happy, apart from the parasites. The Star. Yeah, I go off on one now and again. Fear, fear, fear. Killer Aussie flu KOs Crimbo. Lurgy from Down Under sweeping UK. Oh, we better cancel the Christian and 4 or 5 other deities celebration then, hadn't we? Don't pay any attention to that. I mean, right, for a start, it's a virus. Get some colloidal silver. Kills all viruses. Get some 3% hydrogen peroxide. And see me videos so you know what to do about that, with that, because that kills him as well. Strictly Step final bug fight. Don't know what that's about, but it's football. It's TV. Adele in tears for Grenfell. They thought that Grenfell would just go away after a couple of months. 6 months later, and we're still talking about it because we know the parasites deliberately set that fire and deliberately murdered over 400 men, women, and children. And we ain't forgetting it. The Daily Telegraph. Bishop besmirched by the church. Inquiry finds CRV panel incorrectly branded George Bell a paedophile despite lack of evidence. This is coming from a paedophile-run corporation. Yes, the Church of England is a corporation. Everything is a corporation. You and I are a corporation. We didn't know about it, but we have been found it out now, so we do know now. And there are ways out. If you haven't watched the video I put out yesterday, The Wizard of Oz, an allegory, watch it because it explains so much. In fact, I'll stick a link. Forces Chief. Here we go with the fear. Forces Chief. Russian Navy could cut British internet cables. Oh no! How would we ever survive without the internet? Or is this their plan to cut the internet cable themselves, blame the Russians so that we don't have internet, so we can't talk to each other and explain what's going on? Oh, I think that's a far more likely story. Grenfell again. Victims of Grenfell remembered. It ain't going away. And you parasitical scum in Parliament and the Royals are going to pay for it. That was a step too far. Law must be changed so that burial wishes are not ignored by families. I agree absolutely on this point, and that's coming from a personal point. My sister and brother-in-law murdered my mother earlier this year, and in my mother's will, she stated she wanted to be buried at Wilford Hill. Now, they didn't bury her at Wilford Hill because they poisoned her, but because she was old, she was 83 I think, because she was old, and this is what else they did. They've been stealing her pension for the past 4 years, and because they were stealing her pension and they had to pay the gas and electric bills, they turned the gas off. And my mother had dementia. We started to give her coconut oil, and she started to regain her memory. Then they took her out from morning till bedtime, so she never got a chance to have it. And then, because they didn't want her realising, A, they were stealing a pension, and B, that she got her memory back, she'd know what an evil bitch Kim is, and Anthony. And we know they poisoned her, and that's the reason they cremated her rather than bury her, because you can't exhume a cremated body. When searching for a new planet, NASA finds best way is to Google it. Are you taking the piss? NASA, the most lying thing next to governments, Google is the best way to find it. Don't you just feel sick about this sort of crap? I know I do. Metro. Homeless up by 65% in 7 years. Yes, because that's the agenda. If you're on the streets, you're not going to be too concerned about what's going on in Parliament, where they're trying to take all our rights away so that they can usher in the dictatorship, which is already here. They just want to enhance it so that they can start shipping us off to camps where they can exterminate us. Adele's grief at Grenfell service. Grenfell isn't going away. We've no longer got this short-term memory where, you know, yeah, it was terrible, and then, we forgot about it. We remember it because we know that you, parasites, caused it. And when you can give at least 50 billion to the EU, and yet you can't afford £5,000 to put in fire detection equipment, you criminal, parasitical scum need to be hung from the neck and then let down just before you die. No, I'm not talking break your neck, just hung, then and then let down, and then hung again. FT. Cliffhanger. How Theresa May struck a Brexit deal with Brussels. She hasn't done anything of the sort. She may fool the general population into believing that, but I don't think even they're falling for it anymore. And we know that there's no way out of Brussels unless we repeal the 72 Act, repeal the Sescovy Act, and lock all those up in Parliament for good, and hang those that deserve it. Disney agrees $66 billion deal to buy Murdoch's 21st Century Fox assets. Sky, Hulu and film studio included. Iger to continue as chief. Regulatory hurdles remain. So, how a corporation can have that amount of money when we've got men, women and children on the streets and starving is obscene. Absolutely obscene. And it can't go on. Paper. Another defeat looming for May. Conservative rebels say more Tory MPs will join their ranks to bring down legislation that would enshrine date of EU withdrawal. Now, why would they want to do that? Why? Because if this is all only about the date, why would they want to do that? Because there is no Brexit. Planned. This has been pre-planned. Don't fall for their crap. Grieve reports death threats after defying government whips. You see, that's how you know that you're a slave. Why would they have whips in Parliament? Do as you're told, or we're going to set the whips on you. We're going to whip you. Slaves. Next week's vote is an accident waiting to happen, claims Labour. You mean Labour, which is the Conservatives under a different colour? Or Conservatives, which are Labour under a different colour? Or Lib Dem, which are Conservatives and Labour under a different colour? Because at the top, those that pull the strings keep the same agenda going no matter who's in. Let's see if there's anything else in this. Mickey Mouse eats fox. Murdoch steps back by selling his entertainment empire to Walt Disney. Utter crap. He will still be involved. This is just a PR stunt to make you believe that he's not in charge anymore. Tory MPs admit mistakes over waspy woman. Soothing cuppa linked to lowering risk of glaucoma. The devil wears barber. The devil wears many masks, and you can call him the devil if you want, but he's just a different dimensional entity. But them lot in Parliament and the evils in Buckingham Palace, they believe in him so much that when they go, oh, that's such a good thought, there you go, they're going to have to go and spend some time with the entity they believe is the devil. The rest of their lives, in fact, the rest of eternity. Oh, you see, there's always a good side. There's always a good way of looking at evil. Dennis Healy. World events do not occur by accident. They are made to happen, whether it is to do with national issues or commerce, and most of them are staged and managed by those who hold the purse strings.